little bit different being up here than sitting down there and watching everyone. Well, I hope everyone's having a great night tonight. I'm going to make this short and sweet. To be honest with you, I had a much longer speech, but production saw that between the two of us, we have like maybe 400 followers, and they cut our stage time like significantly down. So let's just get to it. It's so awesome to see brands here, influencers, all your loyal followers up there. I mean, this is awesome! And we're all here because you guys have truly changed the word beauty in this industry. And you've allowed everyone to have the freedom to feel beautiful in their own skin. And that's really what tonight's about, is honoring and recognizing all of your hard work. And so I hope that you guys enjoy. I do have to give a kudos to my husband and to the few people who have been in the trenches with him on this project. I literally have not seen him in 6 months. He has obsessed over every detail tonight. And those of you who know him, believe me, because he's like obsessive. So not only do I hope you enjoy your night, I really hope you feel the love that was poured into this project for you guys. On another note, we are so excited to present the first ever Courage Award. And for us personally, cancer is near and dear to our family's hearts. I wouldn't have him standing up here with me tonight had he not had the courage to fight for his life and beat cancer. So it's places like City of Hope that really give you that hope to live. And I just wanted to let everyone know, whether you are a sponsor, you bought a ticket, or you supported this event in any way, all profits are going to City of Hope. So we are committed to that, and we thank you. So without further ado, because our time limit is short, I give you Chris Crellin.
Welcome, Chris. I'm very excited to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So how did you get involved with the American Influencer Awards?
That's a great question. So my wife's actually been in the beauty industry for over 10 years. Mm-hmm. She ran a company called Pravana. She was the VP of marketing for close to 10 years. And then a few years after that, which was a few years ago, she launched a company called Sparks Hair Color. So anyway, I would come home from work every night and she would talk about how I'd hear about influencers and how influencers are the #1 way to grow a brand, and she was working with them on a daily basis. So anyway, as some time went on, the two of us were talking, and I thought to myself, because I started to pay attention to these influencers more and more, checking Instagram accounts and YouTube channels, et cetera, and I realized that these people were extremely influential, and the people that were following them looked at them like celebrities. And I thought to myself, you know, you've got the AMAs for music, you've got the Oscars, you've got all these award shows for all these different industries.
Right.
But yet no one's there putting these influencers who are doing spectacular work out there and don't have a platform to display it. So the two of us kind of put our heads together and realized that it was something we should launch.
So very entrepreneurial. Now, I know you went to SC. Did you study entrepreneurism when you were in college?
You know what, I didn't. I studied finance and I did accounting. I'm a numbers guy. I love numbers. But I've always had the mind of starting my own business one day. And that was actually one of the reasons why I decided to go to USC here in Southern California. So anyway, it was just an opportunity that kind of came along, and I figured that we should jump at it because, again, I wanted to give the influencers the platform to really catapult themselves and show their creativity and show that they aren't just somebody behind a camera that's snapping a quick picture and throwing it on their social media account, that there's a lot more to it than just that.
So it's a new world for everyone. Mm-hmm. I mean, people don't know what influencers are. So what really is an influencer? What makes an influencer today?
It's a great question. It kind of depends on who you ask. At the end of the day, there's a lot of people out there that just create an Instagram account and they think they're an influencer. So one of the jobs that we have as an association is we want to kind of differentiate the professional influencers from the non-professionals. So to answer your question directly, an influencer these days is anybody that has a social media platform that has a following, right? And I guess technically, to be a professional influencer, you'd have to get paid for your work. Mm-hmm. So typically, brands, at least in the beauty industry, mm-hmm. are looking for influencers, maybe a micro-influencer that has 25,000 followers, mm-hmm. Possibly a macro-influencer that might have 500,000 followers mm-hmm. or more. Mm-hmm. Those would be people that are considered influencers that are actually getting paid from these brands to advertise on their platforms.
So it's a profession then. It's not an avocation. It's a vocation for if you want to be an influencer. It's sort of like a model or an actor or someone like that who makes money from their presence, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So how did someone who wants to be an influencer do it? Is it just, I mean, what makes somebody attracted to somebody who's one influencer versus somebody else?
That's a great question. I think everybody, probably a question for the influencers themselves, you probably get a lot of different answers. At the end of the day, everybody has their own way of getting that audience. Some people are just who they are. It's funny because when we launched the association, the American Influencer Association, about 8 months ago, I've had many people throughout the last 8 months tell me, oh, you should be an influencer yourself. And I used to always joke around. I'm like, no one's going to want to follow me. Like, I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know what to post. But again, everybody has their unique niche. There's people out there that really enjoy hair color. There's people that love applying makeup, and they're professionals at applying their makeup, and they're posting YouTube videos about it. And then you get people that come across these videos and go, wow, this person's credible, or I really like them, and they subscribe to their YouTube channel. Again, everybody has their own niche. Everybody has their own reason for why they're followed. There's some people, like I said, that are just themselves. Some people, as far as, hey, I'm eating this today and I'm doing this and that. Influencers obviously aren't just limited to the beauty industry itself. They're across all the different industries.
But it's interesting. So you decided to become an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. There was nothing, and now you've created an award show. You've created an academy. So what was your process for building that?
Well, like I said, my wife had come home. She was working in the beauty industry for a long time. Her father, actually, my father-in-law, owns one of the largest sales agencies in the entire world. They happen to be in the beauty industry themselves. So they rep 50 of the top brands in the professional beauty industry, and they also have a retail division as well. So when I realized the significance and the importance of these influencers, and realized that they didn't have this platform to really shine and to really put them on that platform to show that it is a job. It is something that younger kids growing up can strive to be one day, right? That's essentially where we want to take this. We want to make this a credible profession. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, one of the reasons why we decided to launch this in the beauty industry itself was because that's kind of where we had all our ties. Mm-hmm. In terms of going out and getting sponsorships. My father-in-law's company, TKG, which stands for the Kirshner Group, it was a great opportunity for him to put us in contact with some of the biggest brands that they work with, and going to some of these beauty shows and sitting down with these potential sponsorships and getting them to want to be part of the show.
And so you said we're going to put on a show, mm-hmm. and then you said, well, how did you decide you needed an entity? I mean, what was the business part of what you did? Well, the business part was, I didn't want to just be an award show. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't
want to put on an award show and then, we disappear for 6 months and then we pop back up on the map and you see us once a year. So I wanted to do something bigger than that. Mm-hmm. My whole thought process behind it was, I want to be the SAG of entertainment for the beauty industry. So we created the American Influencer Association, so we can essentially differentiate the professional influencers from the non-professionals. Mm-hmm. Because I can tell you from my own personal experience, in between USC and where I am today, I actually launched the company, and I've worked with influencers personally myself, and I've sent product to them before, and I've written them a check, and they've disappeared. So I got scammed essentially. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the things that I thought about when we were creating this award show was, I want to be able to, again, differentiate those professionals from those non-professionals, so that way when big companies or small companies or whoever they are that want to work with these influencers, know that there's credibility behind them. Know that there's somebody standing behind them that's saying, yes, if you send your products or you send these people money, you're actually going to get what you're paying for. And again, kind of really give them the credibility that they deserve.
So you're curating and you're also validating.
Correct.
And by doing that, it gives businesses a sense of security about their investment.
Exactly.
And that's probably relevant not just in beauty.
Absolutely.
So where do you think you're going to be taking it next?
That's a great question. So we just got through our first award show in the beauty industry. We actually launched it about 3.5 months before the award show. People thought we were crazy. I wanted to get in the 2017 show before 2018 came around. So I'm looking forward, to answer your question, I'm looking forward to having the entire year to plan our next show, our next event. From there, we have some strategies, as far as potentially going into other industries. Like I said, we have the association part behind it that we're going to be rolling out here very shortly, along with some other different things that we're going to be doing quarterly. So again, to make sure that we're staying relevant throughout the year and not just putting on award shows.
I think the thing that was really touching to me when I saw the award show was the moment when you honored Caitlin. I thought that was, very moving, that you had this notion that beauty just isn't the standards that people, measure themselves against.
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually, growing up, I actually lost my father to cancer. And then a few years after that, I was diagnosed with cancer myself. So being a childhood cancer survivor, I've always known that I want to do something in the cancer community and give back. So when we launched the association and put on the first award show, actually all profits went to City of Hope, which is one of the local cancer institutions that are in our area. And I work very, very closely with them. I do motivational speaking talks with them, just based on my experience from growing up, through my childhood experience with cancer. But putting on this award show, I didn't want it just to be, about beauty. I figured that it would to kind of tie in the fact that proceeds were going back to, or all profits were going back to City of Hope. I wanted to have a City of Hope patient part of the show, and I wanted to essentially give out a Courage Award on behalf of my father, actually. So that was the reason why that we gave out the Courage Award to Caitlin Herron.
And beauty means different things to different people. I think you made that really clear. I mean, the standard definition of beauty, Barbie and Ken, doesn't exist anymore.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's funny you say that, because that's one of the things the influencers have really done is they've revolutionized the world in terms of what the definition of beauty really is. You've got people that, you just kind of shut your eyes and pick any influencer, and they're not your typical Ken and Barbie, right? Like the definition of beauty 20 years ago. They're starting to make people. This is the thing that I love about it is they inspire people to be who they are, because a lot of these people have green hair and purple hair, and they're doing these crazy makeup faces, and they've got these outlandish fashion styles. And what's interesting is they're making this the norm now. 15, 20 years ago, if you saw somebody walking down the street with bright pink hair, you thought they were a weirdo. Whereas now it's very normal. And that's something that I really respect about the influencers and what they're doing with the industry.
I think it also comes from self-confidence.
Absolutely.
They have the ability, they have the confidence to put out there something that may not be what's considered normal.
Right.
And then the change in the social climate about acceptance.
Right.
Where people are willing to say, whatever you do is good if it works for you and doesn't hurt anyone else, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's a big social change in the generation. It's the difference between millennials and maybe people who are older, that's one of the reasons why it spawned that, why the world has changed. what do you see as future changes in terms of social acceptance, and what the next thing is that the next barrier that may be coming down?
The next barrier that's coming down, you know what? It's hard to say. There's a lot of people that were saying that social media is not going to last, and they're telling these influencers to. I've heard people say, "Save your money," because it's not going to continue. I think with the way that social media is going these days, I think that I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I think what's going to happen is these influencers are starting to create their own brands themselves, and you're seeing these brands that are reaching out to them, and they're kind of hanging on to these influencers by the coattails. And I think that what's going to end up happening here is a lot of these influencers are going to kind of flip the market upside down, and now they're going to be the ones that are owning these companies, and they're going to be working directly with the manufacturers and selling products on their own behalf instead of being the face of somebody else's company.
So it's sort of like they're displacing the traditional influence of movie stars or television personalities, And it's also democratized the ability of people to become influencers, because you don't have to be on a TV show now. You don't have to be a movie star.
Yep.
You can create your own following.
Yeah, you could become a movie star in your own family room. I mean, it's literally that simple. It's just a matter of creating, engaging and creative content, or creating something that viewers want to see.
And how do you think that's changed the notion of privacy? Like, people are putting themselves out all the time, everywhere. How do you think that's changed how people look at their private and personal lives?
Yeah, I think it's funny because I'm a very private person. In fact, I don't have social media myself, which is kind of the irony in this whole thing. It's a different day and age. I think that, my parents, for example, and the way I grew up, it was, you wanted to be very private about your life, and now people are growing up in a society where it's the norm to post what I'm eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. I think things are shifting. I don't think that people care about the privacy issues that our parents did one day. And I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see where things end up.
Well, you're a dad. You have kids. How do you think the world's going to treat them? Do you think they're going to have a private life?
You know what? That's a great question. Because I'm a private person, I'm a big advocate of not posting that, hey, we're going to Hawaii for a week, so then people come and break into your house. I don't know. I know that I have friends that have kids that happen to be older than my kids, and they're kind of running into those situations now, and it seems to be the constant fight in the household. The kids want the platforms, and the parents want to monitor them, and they have their own accounts to see what they're doing on them, and I don't know. It's an interesting day and age.
So, in terms of raising kids and influencers, how do you feel the kids should perceive the people that are providing the influence for them? Do you think they're role models? Do you think they're just people who they should look at? I mean, how do you think that's going to play out?
I think the kids, depending on, obviously these influencers have followers of all ages, but kids specifically, yeah, I think, growing up for me, obviously we didn't have social media. I watched Friends, so I watched Matthew Perry and Jennifer Aniston. I saw them 30 minutes every single week. With these influencers, these children are seeing them every single day. They're posting on their channel sometimes multiple times a day, and they've got multiple platforms. So to answer your question, I think that a lot of these influencers are looked upon as celebrities by the children. Absolutely.
Do you think the fact that the regulations have changed and they're supposed to disclose whether or not they're paid for what their sweater they wear or the outfit they're wearing or the makeup they use, do you think that's going to change how their influence is felt?
I think eventually. I think that because social media is so relatively new, and the influencers working with brands is relatively new, obviously it always takes legislation time to catch up to technology. And they're starting to do that, and they're starting to put policies in place where, as you mentioned, the influencers have to now be transparent and let them know that, hey, I'm being paid for this ad. Not that every influencer is doing it yet. You're starting to see more and more do it. But it gets interesting because it kind of goes back to what I was saying. If influencers now start getting equity in the brand, how does that work? So if they own the company and they're posting about that specific company, do they have to put that it's a promotion? Because they're not really promoting another company, they're promoting their own company. So I don't know. I think it's very gray right now. As far as the audience catching on to the fact that they're paid promotions, I think there's going to be, to answer your question directly, I think there's going to be some people that aren't as influenced because of that reason once they realize what's going on. But at the same time, some of these people are celebrities. And at the end of the day, even if you know that some celebrity walking down the street is being paid to wear this shirt, people are still going to buy it because they want to look like that person. They want to be that person, or they're inspired by that person, or whatever their reason is.
Chris, thank you so much for coming. I hope that you'll come back again and keep us apprised of what's going on in the influencer world.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure.
I appreciate it.
This is Minda WIlson. We'll be back after this message.